it's me, Erin. Thanks for joining us on the More Love podcast. Do not tell Rebecca, but this podcast is about empathy. She likes people to think she's dead inside, but the truth is she's a big-time feeler who has truly helped me uncover that empathy is my superpower. Oh, here she comes.
Hey, bestie.
Hi, love.
What are you doing?
Oh, just getting ready to host a podcast.
A podcast? About what?
Life. Our life as best friends, who are more like sisters.
Ah, yay! I love us, and I can't wait to share our stories with the world.
Especially the ones that involve us pushing each other, right? To be our most authentic selves.
Oh, man. Okay.
3 hot blondes and Scott today, everybody. Doo-doo-doo. 3 hot blondes. That's right. Coming at you. We don't just have Rebecca and Erin today. You are joined by a third party, yet another guest of the More Love podcast. This is Stephany, everyone. Hello, Stephany.
Hi, hello, ladies. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely.
Our session.
Our today's session. The people are going to love our session today. I'd like to tell you about how I introduced Stephany to Rebecca. This morning, I said to her, we're having a guest on the show today. Rebecca's like, yep. I sent her the link. I said, congratulations. That's the most she's done for the podcast in 23 episodes. So a really nice job, Rebecca.
I did it the day before, too.
Good. Wow. Yesterday. I'm sure Stephany wasn't worried at all
Probably
about
not.
Getting that link. Right. But here you are, 10 p.m., rolling in with the link.
I can only do what I can do.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I start to tell her a little bit about Stephany's really impressive background and a lot of the stuff you're going to hear today. And what does Rebecca say?
I want to see your picture.
Yeah.
And then I looked at her up on Facebook and I go, oh, she's hot.
Yeah.
This will be good.
This is good. Proceeded to go through all the pictures as I'm looking at her, being like, do you want to hear more about what?
I'm like, she sounds great.
No. She's going to be great.
Yep. She looks good.
Hot.
Yep.
So
I really like the pictures.
There we are today.
Thank
3
you.
hot blondes and Scott. That's where we are.
Scott.
Oh, I feel like we should do more for you, Scott.
No, that's okay. I'm fine.
I do have some hair in the studio.
Yeah.
You could be a blonde.
Yeah. You want some extensions, Scott?
That would be fun. That would be
It would
really
be fun.
And then we can go to Target together. And see
Yes.
how that turns out.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That's right. Always a good time.
Always.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. So for real, this is actually going to be a much awaited podcast for a lot of our guests because I have had some people who reach out and say and give us topics for the show. And one of the topics that a lot of people have wanted to know about is, can you have someone come on and talk about narcissism and characteristics of people who are narcissistic and how that relates with empathy? And so there have been, Stephany, a lot of this podcast is about Rebecca being dead inside and me being the most empathic person you could ever possibly meet, and how we approach the life from completely different angles, but always find our way back to each other in some weird way. And sometimes people write into the show and will have questions that they want us to talk about, again, to get the very different perspectives. And again, one of the themes that keeps coming up is this question about narcissism, especially in the realm of empathy. And how do you spot someone who's narcissistic? How do you keep them at bay? How do you, at least in my own personal experience, not try to give that person constantly the benefit of the doubt? And when do you know enough is enough? So those are some of the leading questions that we'll have for today in terms of narcissism and empathy. I think today is going to be a great topic for everyone. And so when I'm starting to talk to Rebecca about the things we're going to talk about today, and I have her read your bio, Stephany, she's reading. And what point does she get to? The numerology piece. And that, at that point, is where she's hooked.
All in.
Oh my God, she knows about numerology. That's the show today. That's the show. That's what we're going to talk about. And I said, we need to find a nice balance between the two. And because Rebecca just wanted to take over and have you do all the hippie voodoo shit that she likes for people to do, because she does not like to talk about anything.
Not feelings.
No
feelings. I don't want to talk about the feelings.
So I've promised Rebecca we can do both today. So what we're going to do is sandwich this. Okay. We're going to start with your hippie voodoo card.
Okay.
And your oil and my affirmation card.
Okay.
Then we're going to do the meat, right, of talking about narcissism and empathy. And then Stephany has promised that we will end with some who the heck knows what numerology / reading / and on a high note for you.
Great.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
I love it.
Okay. So let's start with your card. What's your hippie Vu card today?
So this one was really calling to me, and we haven't had this one yet.
No, we have
is
not.
The Knight of Swords, and it's a flying unicorn.
Is that a helmet? It's got a helmet on?
It's a helmet with a feather. It's a pink feather. And it's yielding
in for that one.
I know. It's yielding one solid sword. Cut a bitch.
Cut a bitch sword?
Cut a bitch
That's
sword.
what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just named that. But look how cute. He has no teeth.
You
He's
don't
adorable.
know this about me, but I grew up drawing horses. And then at some point, I turned all my horses to unicorns.
Stop it.
So I'm like the queen of drawing unicorns. I draw them everywhere.
Yep.
It's my doodle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Love every second
that
of it.
Sounds about right.
My doodle is a
And
pig.
it's sparkling.
I know.
Sparkly today.
That's great.
So-
And you're sparkly. Yeah. Look at how this is all coming together.
I love that. I
Yep.
love that. Okay. So remember last time?
My doodle is a pig.
It is. It's always a pig. Always. I'm really good at pigs. What's your
Good.
doodle?
A star.
Is it?
I always do stars.
You know what my husband says?
A cigarette.
A middle. It's a middle finger.
The S.
It's a middle finger.
The S where you the 3 lines and then you do like the little stupid connections with the triangles on top.
No, his is a middle finger, and your husband's is a penis.
It is.
I know. I know.
It absolutely is. Oh my
Idiots.
God. What idiots.
Anyway.
Wow.
So we learned last time that swords are thought and mental energy.
Right.
You always pull the
I
swords.
always pull swords. Always.
So I pulled this sword, and this is so interesting. Are you ready?
Yep.
Knight of Swords. Masculine energy.
Oh.
Well, because the knight is a man, right? I don't know. New endeavors are near. This zealous knight appears. Hip, hip, hooray-ish. Enthusiastic to the point of obsession. He races towards his goal, so no regret for petty concerns like danger or anyone else's feelings. You might call him the cokehead of the tarot deck. And though he has his upsides, passion, compassion, drive, he warns against some downsides, ignorance, arrogance, and sloppy work. So learn from this guy's mistakes and stay excited, but be willing to exercise some caution, humility, and patience. Oh, and skip the coke. It's unbecoming of a knight.
Oh my God. These cards are too much.
I love every second of
They're
these.
too much.
So here is the affirmation. My excitement is welcomed and celebrated, but when it spills over, I mop it up so no one slips. See, it's empathy. It's totally me. It's totally me all day long.
Except you don't realize when you push it over the edge, and I'm the one there with the stupid ass mop.
Well, I know. Well,
I'm like, oh no, well, mop that. We're mopping that. We're mopping that. And you're like, why? I don't understand. I'm still rubbing my orange rock over here.
I know. I burned myself on the.
You want to give me some of that oil?
Yeah, but this hurts. Look at.
I know.
I burned myself in the incense today.
Yeah. Is that a sign?
Probably. I know. Now, I need you to be careful with this because it's leaking. I don't know why. The ball thing is pushed in. I don't know.
Okay.
This is the orange chakra for creativity.
Okay.
Did you see what we picked?
Yeah.
You know?
Perfect.
And what's interesting is I made a decision last week to start my own business.
Yep. Yes, she did, folks.
And
guys, wait, though. When she told me the name of the business, this is what I did. I said, what's the name of the business? Wait a minute. Let me close my eyes and do this just in case I really hate it. Then you can't see the look on my face.
I was very clear when you had zero reaction.
And so I went like this. And then you told me the name. And what did I do?
You kept doing that. And then we moved on to a different topic.
And then that is empathy.
Which is completely fine.
Yep. And you didn't care.
Nope.
Just like normal. I tell you things all the time that
Yep.
I don't think
tell you
that's
things all the
great,
time.
and you don't care.
Nope.
You just keep doing it anyway.
I am still doing it.
Wow,
I created my logo and I told you it
This
was
is coming all sorts of out all over.
That's what she said.
Here. Oh my God, you're an idiot. Here we go, Stephany. I'm putting some on you.
Thank
Stephany's
you.
getting
Thank you.
some.
I'm
This is a good one.
feeling all the energy
Do you
and
feel
vibes.
it? Do you feel it all?
I'm
This is a
feeling
good
it.
one.
I'm feeling it.
Okay.
I'm smelling it.
Oh, are you?
It's orangey.
Very
The
citrusy.
orange. It's orange.
You know what? It's a mixture of citrus.
And self-tan because I have a self-tanner in.
No, it's a mixture of citrus and instant oil change.
I'm glad it doesn't smell like a 1979 Holiday Inn like the last one.
Oh no, that's Pound Town.
Pound
that's
Town.
the root
Pound
one.
Town.
That's the
Pound Town.
cherries.
Ooh, it's this one. This one. Okay, this is it. Okay, here's my affirmation card. I am on my own path. I know that comparing myself to others only derails me from my purpose.
Thank you. That's why I don't give a shit if you don't like the name of my business.
Yes, this is your card.
I know.
This is your card. Good.
Yep.
I know that comparing myself to others only derails me from my purpose. I am on my own path. This is also a good card for me because
it's black.
you know, we're going live.
I know.
We're going live, you
Except
guys.
It's already.
No, it's not.
This is going to air before we go
Yeah.
live?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I love the confidence that you have when you don't know shit about what's happening with the podcast. You showed up an hour early today.
I know.
You forced me here an hour early today.
I know.
But yeah, I'm all set. I got this.
Are you sure?
I got this.
Because we're usually
going
like 4
live.
weeks behind.
We're going live,
Okay.
everybody.
Yes,
December 29th.
This episode will be dropped the week before we go live, actually.
Thank you.
Wow.
Scott. Thank
So everybody,
you.
next week.
Mark your calendars.
Next week,
Mark
Friday.
your calendars.
Not a Thursday, Friday.
Friday lunch hour.
Friday lunch hour.
12 o'clock, we're going live. First live performance of More Love. And I'm going to give you a real hint here. It's the same thing you're listening to right now.
Also, I
Same
will
shit.
be 1 year older than Aaron.
Yes. So brace yourself for that,
1
you guys.
year older
That's so
than
great.
Aaron.
But what we're going to talk about is basically we have a whole lineup prepared for Friday the 29th when we go live, where we are ringing out the new year, or ringing out the old year, bringing in the new year, where we're going to basically dive into all of the things we're letting go of. And why I really like this card, the I am on my own path, is one of my learnings from 2023 was that I need to have confidence and awareness of the fact that just because I get anxious and freak out doesn't mean that I need to then give my power away to everyone else to be making decisions. That it is okay for me to sit in my own light, to make my own decisions, and to not have to take on the energy around me when making decisions because I am on my own path. And so I'm really harnessing that for 2024. So that card is also about me. I love that as well.
Love it.
All right. Is that the hippie boo so far for today? You feel good about that?
I feel great.
Okay, fantastic. Now it's into the ham, into the meat, into
Ew.
the meat.
The
Ham
the
sounds so
ham.
flat.
peg doodles.
Oh my God, I'm going to draw one. I'm going to draw one right now. Go ahead.
Into your little
A little hammer.
ham doodles. Ew, so gross.
I know. Ew. Okay, go ahead.
I love it.
Very excited.
So as I said, Stephany, I think people are going to be really excited about talking about today. I think they're going to be eager to hear your story, eager to hear really what quote unquote qualifies you to talk about this topic. And I think your experiences and things that you're going to get into are definitely things that people are going to be able to relate to. And as I said before, a lot of people who listen and tune into this podcast are really empathic, caring, loving, sort of bleeding heart kind of people who are trying to figure out best ways to still harness that part about themselves that they love without also being taken advantage by other people. And the narcissist, in my mind, is someone who is keenly aware of those people, finds those people, goes all in on those people, and then uses those people for...
You think it's deliberate? Like intentional?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think they're always keenly aware, but I think that there's something about the narcissist that pulls them toward people who exude this sense of unconditional love and caring and I'm all about you. Let me give to you. Let me show you how you're important and valuable. And so I don't always think it's necessarily intentional. Ooh, like I spot this person out. But there's something about a really empathic person that gets exuded that people feel really close to. And the narcissist loves that that person is going to spotlight them in a majority of what they do. Your thoughts on that, Stephany? Do you think it's intentional?
No, so many people would say, "Oh, your exes, they're so psycho." I'm like, no, they're not psycho. They have a disordered personality, but they know exactly what they are doing. Are they consciously aware 100% of the time what they're doing? No, because I think some of it is just through habit of what they do, but they know what they are doing. They have everything planned. They're cool, calm, calculated, and they know. So I never say, oh, they're crazy. Oh, they're psychopaths. No, they're in control, and they are in control of you. They're in control of your emotions. They're in control of your reactions. And that is where they want to be. And that is where they want to keep
dangerous. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I so agree with that. I love it. I want to give you the stage, Stephany, to tell us about your experience, your story. I think it'll be important for our listeners to know a little bit about who you are, what your journey has been. And then let's dive into this topic of narcissism and empathy. So tell us about you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I found myself on the bathroom floor just crying and going, God, why me? Why is all this stuff happening to me? God, what did I do wrong? Or why me? I'm a good person. I did nothing wrong. I don't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. Yet in that moment, I couldn't see past the pain and the suffering that had engulfed my life for so many years. Yeah. I spent over 17 years within 2 narcissistic abusive marriages. And here, I did not know that I was in them. Mm. My background is in domestic violence. My background is in law. But yet, here I am in an abusive marriage that I did not know was abusive. Yeah. And so many people that I've spoken with, both men, because it does happen to men, and women, find themselves in these toxic relationships, but we don't always know what is happening. And it's not until we step outside of it and get a clear picture, because it doesn't always fit the traditional cycle of domestic violence. And here, again, my background is in domestic violence. I actually won the governor's award. It is an award offered to one person once a year. And I won it for my work with victims and survivors of domestic violence. And yet, when I look back at when I was in the middle of it, I didn't know. My first husband, he was a covert narcissist, and a covert narcissist is, if we just define some terms here. So if you all remember back in the day studying mythology, I think it was a requirement when I was in middle school, Narcissist was this man who fell in love with his reflection, and he never left. He died in that pool just staring at himself. And so narcissists have this deep need for excessive admiration and attention. They have this grandiose sense of self-importance. They're preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited power, success, beauty, wealth. And they believe that one is special and can only be understood by special people. And I think this is where they bring in like the empaths. Only an empath can understand me. Or they just make you feel like you are the only person who understands them. They have this constant need for excessive admiration, sense of entitlement. But the thing is that they will exploit you. They will manipulate you. They will do anything they can to get what they want. And they lack the empathy. So it doesn't matter, they just don't care how they will hurt you. They don't care. They will use you. They're arrogant, haughty behavior. They're envious of others because they think other people are envious of them. And it's this psychological and emotional abuse is what you find yourself in if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, with a person with a disordered personality. And then we have the cycle of abuse. And so in traditional, I even hate saying that, traditional domestic violence, you have the cycle of domestic violence abuse. But what makes abuse, like narcissistic abuse, so different yet so similar is that they have a cycle as well. And it is more emotional and psychological abuse. There's a lot of manipulation, a lot of gaslighting. And for any of you who don't know what gaslighting is when they try to alter your perception of reality. So, for instance, say you got in an argument last night with your partner, and the next morning you bring it up. Hey, when we were having this discussion, this argument last night, you said these things, and this is how it made me feel. In a healthy relationship, you would work through that and talk about it and move on. But in a relationship with a narcissist who is gaslighting you, they would say, that didn't happen like that. You are too sensitive. You're taking things too personally. You're full of shit. That just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. They might also say something like, well, I responded to you in that way because you said this, this, and this, right? And so it's like I don't have to take personal accountability for the fact that I responded in that way to you. It's also because you triggered me in this way. You said this. You know that that's a problem for me, right? There's a lot of that push off of it's because of you that I responded. There's not a lot of personal accountability in the mind of a narcissist.
There's zero accountability. And they shift all the blame onto you. They shift everything onto you. Well, you got in my face. You said this, but with this disordered personality, is they want a reaction, because when they get a reaction from you, they have controlled you. They have controlled your emotions. Now you feel bad about yourself. Now you feel shitty. Now you feel terrible. And they feel great because they have just controlled you. And if you look at what all this, the whole overarching of all of this is power and control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if they can control the way you react, because you find yourself no longer responding, you are just in reactive mode.
Yep. How much time do you spend, or did you spend, in the trying to understand why this person is the way that they are, and to understand the trauma or the experiences that led them to be in this place? Did you spend a lot of time in that place at any point?
I feel like understanding the disordered personality when you finally have the words to define what you went through, so is important for healing. So I didn't know I was in 2 narcissistic marriages until I left my second husband. And then I looked back on everything and it was like, holy, okay, this is what it was. And we would throw words around like, okay, there's some sort of, I knew there was a disordered personality between my 2 husbands. I didn't know exactly what it was, which is kind of, not funny, but my first husband, his dad is a psychiatrist, and, my mom was a psych nurse. And so, we were just talking about these things. But once I finally found narcissism and I saw that everything they did lined up with this, then I wanted to go and explore, well, what is narcissism? What does it mean to have this sort of disordered personality? But at some point, you can't just spend all your time thinking about the disorder, thinking about how could we change them? What all happened to them? Because honestly, we need to focus on us. And this is what I tell clients. This is what I tell people that I work with. Focus on you. We cannot change them. We cannot love them enough to change. And again, we are empathetic. We think that if we continue to stay, well, maybe if I change this about me, maybe if I do this about me, maybe if I do this, then they will change. But they won't change. And we cannot make anybody change. That has to be their own decision. They need to go do all the deep healing work and work on themselves. So understand the disorder and then move on. Focus on you, not on them.
So what was you said that you got out of the relationships prior to realizing that they were narcissists. What was it that made you decide to leave the relationship?
So my first husband I was with for 14 years, and he had multiple affairs the whole time. So again, when you think about being with a narcissist, they have this excessive need for admiration. So in the beginning of the relationship, you can have all this time with this person, you can pour into them and stuff and give them what you wanted. When I went off to law school, I no longer had time to focus all my attention on him. And that is when he went to go seek validation and admiration and adoration from other women. And so many people would say too, well, is it just hot women? Is it this or that? It's like, no, it's any person. It's any woman who would just feed that constant need. And so I stayed with him for a very long time because, again, I don't know about you two, but people that I've worked with in my circles, it's like we have cheaters over here and we have abuse over here. So he's just a cheater. So I didn't put the two together until later when it was like, no, cheating is abuse. How many times did you tell him to stop? How many times did you say, this is how it is affecting you? Stop doing this. And she never did. It's abuse. It's emotional, psychological abuse. Yes, he was not physically violent, but he was emotionally and psychologically abusive.
I think that's a really good point, is that oftentimes we define, just like with depression or anxiety, we define it a very specific way. Therefore, if you're not experiencing those symptoms, quote unquote, or experiences, then you must not be in that situation or have those things, right?
Right.
When the reality is it's the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Everything's the spectrum.
This is where part of this challenge comes in for me, though, because when I was going through my psych training and we would do abnormal psychology was one of the classes that I took. Loved that class. But we would talk about narcissism and the percentage of people at that time known to have been diagnosed with narcissism or a similar type personality disorder was incredibly low, really, really, really low. Right. And so I was under the impression that, one, there weren't a ton of people like this in the world. Two, they were really easy to spot because they were people who were so grandiose in their expression that you would walk around and you'd be like, I don't want anything to do with that person, right? That person is just way too full of themselves. And in addition to that they lacked so much empathy that they tended to go on to other stages of disease, right? And mental health concerns that you would know that you would be able to see a million miles away, right? Conduct disorder was the same way. So I remember thinking, oh boy, if you're diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder and then conduct disorder, your next step after that is you're going to be a sociopath, right? Then I'm in one of my internship settings and I'm meeting with a kid who lights fires and gets diagnosed with conduct disorder. And I'm thinking to myself, uh-oh, this isn't good. I'm meeting with XYZ's next sociopath, right? But in my mind, all of these conditions were for very select people in the population who were really not your mainstream, right? And then we start to see over the course of the last however many years that I'm hearing more about narcissism and personality disorders and different things coming up that are much more mainstream. I think there's even a book that's called The Sociopath Next Door. And it talks about like 1 in 4 or something are legit narcissistic sociopaths. That's we're not leaving the house for the rest of the year. That shit's scary, right?
Reggie?
So there's a fine line for me between, as we become more aware of this, we have to be really careful about who we are diagnosing and who we are claiming has met this particular criteria. Or before you know it, everyone you meet is a narcissist, right? But also drawing awareness to the fact that it's not just the 0.5% that we used to think it was when I was in abnormal psych, that this is happening more, and how that plays into these criteria that we're talking about that are really not okay behaviors, but that we become blind to because we just assume there's a certain level of normalcy in human behavior that's like this. Like, how do you know when we've crossed over from you're just the kind of person that's a pain in the ass full of themselves to full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, and I gotta be out of here, right? That's a really hard place for me to be. I wonder if other people feel that same way, but it's not so cut and dry for me about, and especially when you're in that type of relationship, at what point, it's not like one thing happens, right? It's not like you're going to birth your child and your husband happens to not be there because the bills are playing, right? I mean, at that point, I don't know. You might be the type of person who's like, I can understand the bills are great, right? I don't know, but it's not like one thing happens. You might be able to speak to this too, Stephany, because if it was, it'd be a whole lot easier. She stayed for 14 years, right? In a situation, this man was the same narcissist the entire time, but they're so freaking manipulative in what they are doing and so good about what they are doing that you don't even realize it until it's just upon you. And then you're like, what the heck is going on here? I struggle with that part.
Yeah, no, I completely, I feel the same way. You know, my first husband was actually diagnosed as oppositional defiant when he was a child. And when you have like oppositional defiant, as you know, that can transfer into adulthood as some other disordered personality. And so for him, that was that thing. But, you know, to address is narcissism more prevalent now? You know, one of my thoughts on it is, one, we're talking about it more. But two, you know, think of it like, you know, when you buy a new car, to say I just buy this new, I don't know, white Honda Civic. And before, I never saw a Honda Civic. Now I see Honda Civics everywhere because I own one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so, you know, now that I've been in a relationship with a narcissist, I see narcissists everywhere. Where before I really got into understanding narcissism, I didn't really see them anywhere because I wasn't looking for them, or it wasn't just in my like subconscious mind where I'm seeing them. So I think because there's more awareness, we're talking about it more, we're just seeing it more. That's kind of my take on it. And then the other, oh, go ahead.
No. You can say something. I can follow up after. Go ahead.
And the other thing too is that, you know, why do we stay so long? Why are we in these relationships? So what usually happens, if you look at the cycle of narcissistic abuse, the first stage is the idealization stage, and then there's the devaluation stage, and then the discard. So what happens in the idealization stage is you're getting to know this person. They put you high up on this pedestal. And my friends used to say, oh gosh, Stephany, every guy you ever date just puts you way up here. You're this like queen that they worship. And when it's happening, it's like, oh yeah, that feels really good. I mean, gosh, yeah, these guys love me. They treat me very well. They're very kind to me. They love everything about you. You know, they bring up words like, you're my soulmate. And here I am, you know, a numerologist. I believe all of the spiritual stuff. I've manifested my second husband. I wrote the list. He checked off everything on the list. And so, you know, I manifested him. So when he said, you're my soulmate, I believe that.
Yep.
And everything was wonderful and great until the devaluation phase. And then it's like, oh, I hate lawyers. I hate everything about the law. All your girlfriends, all my very strong, independent, powerful women friends. Oh, all your friends are he just started being so negative and putting all my friends down, criticizing, manipulating, all this stuff. And it was like, wait a second. And this is where it gets all that cognitive dissonance, because you're like, you were just so kind and you loved everything about me. And now everything, you don't like anything about me. Mm-hmm. And so, but then then the next day or a couple days later, then they're just so kind again. And so, you don't understand what's going on, and they keep you in this intermittent reinforcement of good and bad, good and bad. And so this is what keeps us stuck in the cycle. And this is what creates a trauma bond, which is why a relationship with a disordered personality like narcissism is so hard to leave. It is so hard to break up, because you have now had this trauma bond with this person. You love them, you hate them, you miss them, you don't want to be with them. There's all these polarities of emotions. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard, because you're like, well, it's bad right now, but I know it's going to be good in a couple days. I can wait out the bad because it's going to be good. And this is what keeps us addicted. This is what keeps us hooked. And this is what keeps us stuck in these abusive relationships. And I always like to say it as, like, think of a drug addiction. When a user uses for the first time, they reach this super high dopamine level that's so high. So then they use again, because they want that euphoric feeling. They want that high. But every time they use, they can never get that peak high again. But they keep using and using and using, because in their brain, it's like, well, I know maybe if I just keep doing it one time, it will reach that high peak. And so similarly with being in a trauma bonded relationship, we know that they know how to love us. We know that they know how to be kind to us. We know that they know how to treat us the way we want to be treated. So when it is bad, we hold out waiting for that first love, that idealization phase to come back, because we know it's there. We know that they are capable of loving us. But the truth is, it's all false. Mm-hmm. It's not real. None of it's real, because their sense of love is based on just excessive admiration. It is based on, like, I don't know, lust, or just, it's just not love.
Yeah. Yeah. And at least in my own experiences, when you're someone like me who I don't feel like I need a whole lot, I feel like I need base love, care. I like when I'm an acts of service person, right? So something as small as you bring me a cup of tea in the morning, and I can be in hook, line, and sinker again, right? Which is one of my weaknesses, because I think that negativity can happen, and then you're holding out for something different to happen. And then that the bar doesn't have to be really high in order for that person to come back in, right? Because you could do these really atrocious things. And then if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about that, let me do these things to make you feel better. And when you're someone like me, that bar is really low, it's easy for that person to just keep coming back in and starting that cycle over again. And I've struggled with that, because I think to myself that that's an empathy problem, that it's, gosh, I know that I deserve a lot more than that. But I also don't think a lot of us, particularly as women, have experienced the healthiness of what that looks like consistently with a male specifically, right? Because you and I talk all the time. God, if we were married, it'd be great. We'd just have this great, nice little relationship, and we would healthily argue, and everything would be wonderful, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know what that looks like in a male-female relationship. So because that's never been the bar that has been set for me, it's been set for me with you. But if that had been set for me in a male relationship, I think I would know really quickly, you can take that tea and shove it, because that's not, I don't give a shit about your tea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's not really what it is. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just this baseline, almost in some senses, if I really get into it, it's like, God, it's just so much easier when we're in a place where you're acting quote unquote normal and you're being nice to me and you're not making my life a living hell. And I can manage the rest of what's going on in life because I really don't need a whole lot. But just keep it cool, man. Just keep it cool. You want to keep it cool? I don't need much from you, right? But then I struggle with, well, why is that the bar? Right? Like, well, why is that just enough for us to be in these relationships where we're like, great, so he wasn't a complete asshole to me today. Good for me. That's really great, right? And I think that's also a part of this journey when we talk about abuse, when we talk about narcissism, when we talk about, God, you're a really educated woman, both as an attorney and as someone who focuses on domestic violence. And we're in 2 abusive relationships, right? And God, it doesn't get any more educated and aware than that, right? What does that mean for everybody else who hasn't studied this, who hasn't, right? I have a PhD in mental health, right? I also have found myself in these types of relationships where I struggle with discerning between when it's appropriate to leave versus when we keep giving another chance, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean for everybody else?
It's very challenging, and that's this is one of the misconceptions and the myths out there, is that they only go for easily manipulated people. They go for people who came from wrecked backgrounds, who are more susceptible to trauma, drama, and chaos. My parents are still married. I came from a great family, modeled healthy relationships. My first husband, his parents are still married. In fact, when he left me, because he left for another married woman, he disowned his parents because his parents would not divorce me. His parents are like, no, we love Stephany. We're keeping her, and we love you too. You can be a part of our life if you would like to. And he chose to disown his parents because they kept a relationship with me. So, my background is, like I said, I did everything right.
Yeah.
And yet here I was also in these relationships. It's because it creeps up on you. You don't know. When I manifested my second husband, so I made the list. I felt like I was healed from the first marriage and I was ready to date again. We met online, but I made the list. People make lists, right? Yeah. And so I was a divorced dad only with boys because I only have boys. A businessman because my first husband was medical cheats. We're not going there. That was my mindset then.
Yeah.
So I had a very detailed, specific list. Tall, dark, handsome. I wanted the good looking guy. And I threw that out there to the universe. A week later, I met the man who fit every single thing on my box.
Yep.
And I always like to say, the universe and all the universe's greatness and wonderfulness gave me exactly what I wanted, but also with all the unhealed, unlearned lessons from my first marriage. Because here's the thing, if we don't learn those lessons, we will continue to repeat the same patterns over and over again. And you hear people say, well, why is this happening to me? Why do I keep doing this? Well, you continue to repeat the patterns until you break that cycle within you.
Yep.
And so, I got all of that. And then I thought I was doing everything right again, because I'm like, okay, we met online. He lived 3 hours away. I'm like, let's not meet. Let's just really get to know each other, because I didn't want to have a relationship that started out as a physical relationship. I really wanted to build some depth and get to know this person.
Yep.
Well, here's the hard part. How do we know? I didn't meet his friends. I didn't meet his parents. We talked for about 3 months, and within those 3 months, I fell in love with him because that is their
do.
number one goal, to get you hooked. Stepping outside of all that, I can see, wow, he just mirrored me, and I fell in love with myself, and I fell in love with his potential that never went anywhere. So, yeah, it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter if you have a PhD, I have a doctorate, I have my backgrounds in domestic violence and all this stuff. It can happen to the girl next door, who doesn't have all those things.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It can happen to anyone.
Yep.
And that's what's scary in this world.
I know. That is what's scary. I have some questions related to signs to look for, as well as what do we do if we find ourselves in one of these relationships. But you also had a question. Is it still relevant?
It wasn't really a question. It was, I always talk about how society has shifted from how you and I were raised to how the world is raising youth these days. And I question if we're breeding little narcissists, because
I agree.
I can't stand it. I just can't. The fact that, people, the entitlement comes from the fact that when they were little, they were told, you're the best, you're the this, you're the that. And, everybody deserves to win. That is such bullshit. I'm sorry. There's winners and there's non-winners. They're called losers. And it's okay. It's okay to do that. And it's okay to be told no. And it's okay to be told, yeah, nope, it's not going to happen. And I think that is a major problem. And as, you learn these foundations when you're a little child, and as you grow up, you're confused. So when you're being reinforced with these ways of life through your formative years, all of a sudden you get into the real world and you're all sorts of confused. I got a real problem with that. Sorry, just had to say it. So at the same time, you can look at all these signs and look at all these things, but at the end of the day, are they really narcissists, or do they just not know any better? Because nobody told them, stop being an asshole.
Well, do you think that there are, like, some people are predisposed to becoming narcissists, but if they're raised in the right way, or is it something that you can't avoid?
That's a good question.
The school of thought on that, I'm not saying if this is right or wrong, is that narcissism comes from one of two places: extreme trauma that has not been appropriately worked through, or genetic disposition to narcissism.
Okay.
And the correction rate, if you will, of both of those cases, meaning how many people have the ability to change, is under 5% for both.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter if it's massive trauma environment mixed with genetic predisposition, or if it's genetic predisposition in a great environment. The reality is, and this is a really hard for me to wrap my mind around as someone who is ruthless in her fight to help people be the best version of themselves that they can be, that the amount of time, effort, energy, and commitment that it takes to change someone who has a narcissistic personality is immense. It is incredible. Now, most people hear that and think, that's a lot of work. And you know what? I might as well just cut my losses and move on.
Yeah.
Not me. This is where I'm an asshole. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. You're ill. You're ill. You got 5%. You want to know who's real good at working in the 5%? Me. And then when I get that, when I've changed it at the end of 5%, right? Because I'm so confident that we'll be able to get there. I'm beaten and bruised and battered, and I have no mental health left, and I'm depressed and whatever, but I made you a really great person who kind of sort of understood your narcissism a little bit more, and I feel really great about myself. But I've spent 30 years doing that, and I am not getting much out of that relationship otherwise, right? But boy, have I proven to myself that I'm that woman who can change that 5% narcissist, right? That's ill. I'm real clear it's ill. I can't stop it. I struggle with it. I'm working on it.
Well, the more you acknowledge it and the more that you embrace that,
Yep.
the more that you can see it.
Yep. For me, it starts with the understanding of this person that you are with is a narcissist. And I struggle with that. I struggle with that for the same reasons we talked about, Stephany, that in my mind, the number of people in the world who are truly, truly narcissistic is both so overt and in your face and also such a small number. I don't think either of those are true, but I can't wrap my head around that. And then, as we've talked about many times in this podcast, I'm a formulaic person, right? I did the same thing Stephany did. I created a list, I still have it, of all of the characteristics I wanted in the person that I would ultimately end up with. I still have it. I still know where it is in my house. And when I met those potential partners, I would go through with my pen and I'd check it off. Because why? There's the formula. Well, I did it before I knew you, right? Renee and I were on a cruise when I did this. And I was dating someone at the time who did not meet those criteria. Broke up with them as soon as we got back. So I got my criteria and I was like, I'm doing this in a nice, safe, comfortable space while I'm relaxed and on vacation, right? I'm really able to get in touch with those qualities that I really want out of this particular person. And then when I finally meet him / manifest him, right, Stephany? Then I'm going to know because I'm going to sit down with my stupid ass pink felt pen and I'm going to boop, 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 boop. And then when all of those 26 criteria, it's probably closer to 68, just so we're clear, have been met -2, statistically, that's still good odds.
Are we real clear that the things you're manifesting aren't really things you want?
I didn't even know what the word manifest was at that time.
But the list you're creating are not really things you want.
I don't think I knew enough at that time in my late 20s, right, to know what that was. But at the time, I was manifesting exactly what I thought.
What you thought you
right?
wanted.
It was things like really great dad who engages beautifully with his children and would go to the ends of the earth for them, right? It was things like has a really stable job and is able to financially support us should something go wrong in our marriage, is not at all interested in overdoing drugs and alcohol, right? Like these are the things that are on the list. I still feel great about that. Those all sound really great, right? But I went through formulaically and I checked off all of those things and I was like, good. The stats are in my favor, right? This is fabulous. And as we talked about, even just a couple...
ever be in your favor.
Right? As we talked about, then I get really effing confused when that's not the outcome. Because I did all of the things I was supposed to do. I left the bad relationships. I did the formulaic, right? It was even unbiased because I wasn't even with someone when I was putting it together, right? But to your point, Stephany, about the mirroring in these relationships, the narcissist is going to be exactly who you need them to be. You say you want to have 2 children, and they say,
I do too.
I'm totally open to having 2 children. They don't say, I want 2 children, right? But what we hear is, oh my God, look how open-minded he is about wanting to have these children with me, right? I say, I don't want someone who travels constantly for work, right? And the answer is, that won't be a problem in the next year because I'll be in such a place of financial stability after all the work that I've done in all of this time that it'll be my commitment to want to be home more often than not, right? And what do I hear? We're on the same page, buddy. We're still, yep, we got this, right? So now you take, gosh, there can't be a lot of narcissists in the world because it's such a small percent of the population. Mixed with, I did the formulaic things I was supposed to do to put all the ingredients in to get the fully baked cake at the end, to then get the fully baked cake that they do for years. This isn't like you get in marriages with these people and they're like that for 2 weeks. They're like that for years. They do the wooing. They do the, oh my God, I'm a really great dad. I'm going to be the person that you are until something happens, whether that's they feel emasculated, they feel like they can't hold up their end of the bargain. They somehow get re-triggered because of whatever trauma, and then things start to happen here or there. And what do we chalk that up as? That's a normal part of every healthy marriage. We're going through the stuff, right? It's hard. It's difficult, but every marriage gets rocky. It is not until 10 years into that relationship that you look back and you're like, what the hell have I gotten out of this relationship in 8 years? Compared to what I have put into this. And then at that moment, you would hope that you were in a place where you were like, well, hot damn, thank God I know it. Time to go. But what happens, I don't know if this happened for you, Stephany, what happens is you're like, whoa, I'm confused. How did we get here? I'm too smart for this to have happened to me. What did I do wrong? I'm too educated in this realm to have been someone who fell victim to it. Oh my God, I have a child with this person. Oh my God, I'm so confused about how I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. And then you have this crisis of identity. Am I not the person that I thought I was? I did the things I was supposed to do, right? All of this is so much a part of the process of being with someone who is narcissistic, why it's not just so easy to say. That's why you stayed for 14 years, right, Stephany? It's not so easy to say, ooh, yikes, this is not it. So many of those things are intertwined. And whether it's your mother-in-law who's the narcissist, whether it's your partner, it doesn't matter if it's a marriage. Who it is.
Right.
You are in some way, shape, or form intertwined with this person to such a point that your own personal stuff mixed with who they are. And at the same time, while you're going through this, they realize you're going through this. And so what do?
Amp it up.
They turn it the fuck on.
Yep. Amp it up.
Now they are partner of the year, mother-in-law of the year, best friend of the year, right? And what does that do? That's called gaslighting, right? You're like, it's just a rough patch. Oh, okay. It was just a rough patch. And it was a rough patch because, God, I couldn't have been that wrong. I couldn't have been that, way off about all of this stuff until what happens? The next dip happens.
Yeah.
And then you've learned a little bit more in that next dip.
That may not be next week.
No.
May not be next year.
No, could be 6 weeks later.
Right.
Could be a month later. Right. Could be
a year later.
Could be a week later for a shortened period of time. And then they get it back together again. Right. And so you are, at least in my experience, so openly susceptible to all of this happen, even more so when you are the type of person that the narcissist is coming after. Why? Because they know that you're that human. They know you won't give up on them. They know that when you do give up on them, they're going to make you feel so guilty about being the person who gives up on people. They're going to say things like, I have nothing if I don't have you. You've maneuvered this whole entire situation to now you have everything. And I have what at the end of the day? I can't think of one human being, even you, even though I would like to joke at this moment about the fact that you'd be the one to be like, well, me? Oh, you got nothing. Maybe you shouldn't have been an asshole, right? Who doesn't hear that and think to themselves, oh my God, did I do that? Oh, it's a freaking roller coaster.
It's a mind fuck.
It's a massive mind fuck.
It is
massive.
a mind
massive.
fuck. It totally is.
And that's the part, Stephany, that in our last few minutes before we get to the quick numerology, because I know we got to end on your high note here. Could you leave our listeners with just some basic information about what do you do? What are the steps that people who find themselves in these types of relationships need to do or need to take in order to start the process of recognizing, potentially moving on, doing something different? I really hope that that's your son. I really hope it is. I hope he shows up on camera. He's so sweet. He's
okay. He just fell.
Oh, he did. Oh my God. He's so sweet.
He's okay.
Okay, good.
There's no crying.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if you're listening to this podcast and you are saying, oh, wow, that's me. That's me too. This is my partner. This is the way they act, or this is my parents. And I recognize these behavior patterns. Obviously, the first step is awareness of what is going on. The second step is it safe for you to leave? And only you know if it is safe for you to leave. Only you know can do that. But reach out. There are so many services out there, whether it's through the domestic violence hotline or through your friends. Talk about it. For a long time, I didn't talk about all of this stuff because it's shameful, it's embarrassing. And, even to my best friend, I didn't tell her all the details because of the same thing. Like, I don't want to be seen. I already failed in one marriage. Now I failed in another marriage. And you just feel like this absolute big freaking failure when you're a very successful person, but you just can't figure out relationships.
Yeah.
And, when I started opening up and telling my friends and my family, everyone was just concerned for my safety and just wanted me to they were all 100%, 1,000% supportive. What can we do to get you out of here, Stephany? What do you need? That's just, it was the opposite of what our mind tells us that, oh, everyone's going to, what are people going to think? We have to put all that criticism aside. Who cares? Let's focus on you. Focusing on you and your health and your safety is more important than outside criticism. So really focus on yourself. And then one of the things that you really have to do with these personality types as well is that you just have to go completely no contact. You have to shut them off of everything. You have to put it all, just block them on everything, because otherwise they will love bomb you back. And you just can't do that. My first ex-husband, he called me 6 years later and called me up as he's still married to the woman he left with, and came and was like, apologizing. It was everything I wanted to hear 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But, they like to keep all their sources of supply on hand. So you never know when they'll try to come back into your life. So you have to go 100%, contact. If you have children, that's obviously a little bit more challenging, but there are parenting apps and stuff. That's a whole different episode. But yeah, and then, learn a little bit about the disorder, but then put it aside. You have to focus on you and your healing. And for me, it was EFT and numerology came into my life at the time that I needed it. And this is perfect segue for
you. Like that segue. Yeah. Look at that. Oh, look at, she just beamed right off. Look at her. She's so happy.
Because I, like you were saying, Erin, it's like, for so long, it's like, okay, well, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
And who am I? And so I liked EFT and numerology because it helped me dig deeper into my personality and who I am, and really rediscovering myself again. And so I found EFT's emotional freedom techniques. It's just a healing modality that helps to rewire the brain. And then numerology is just the energy that is innate within us. And so I did pull up your guys' cards, since you both gave me your date of birth.
Twin flames. Here you go, twin flames. Yep. Oh, I love it.
Both Capricorns.
I love it.
Should we do Rebecca's first? Or
absolutely.
Eric's?
Yep. Start with that energy. Yep.
Okay. So this is actually, it's cardology. And so Rebecca, in cardology, so in a 52 stack of cards, playing cards were energy cards back in the day before they became the playing cards. They were like the original tarot cards. 52 days represents the 52 weeks of the year and all the cycles and all those stuff. So Rebecca, you are a 4 of hearts. Yes! And actually, this is the marriage and family card.
Marriage infinity card. What does that mean?
Marriage and family card.
Oh, marriage and family.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Okay, so I will read some things and you can tell me if it resonates with you.
Here we go.
So the 4 of hearts.
Strap it in, folks. Strap it in.
This in relationships. Oh, stability and foundation. So the 4 is all about stability and foundation.
That's me.
You are
stable
also
all day long.
Life path number 4 as well, Rebecca. I am a life path number 4. So I think that's great. We are all about stability, foundation, leadership, taking charge. In marriage and in families, we want stability and we want relationships. So the 4 of hearts seeks this in relationships, stability, a good foundation. They seek it with either their intimate partner or their close friendships. These people have high ideas about love and family. These people have wonderful lives of fulfillment in family and other love areas. They hear the inner call to help others and lay aside some of their personal considerations. If they do so,
we were doing real good. We were doing real good until the part where she actually gave a shit about anyone else.
Keep going.
Okay. Many 4 of hearts are healers and protectors. Others come to them for love and support in times of need.
Not if they're
Satisfaction
smart.
comes in giving of themselves and caring for others.
You want stability all day.
Does this sound like you?
Yes. So the stability piece and the all in with my family and my marriage, 100%.
And the desire for close intimacy and
Yes.
focusing more on your small little group of people that you want to invest in as opposed to pushing that out to a bunch of different
Yes.
people.
Yes.
You are also, although you don't want to admit it, the person that people will come to if they want to have
The truth?
support, guidance, love, and connectedness.
Yes.
You care very deeply.
Yes.
I know. Don't want to give
know.
anyone's secrets away
Stop.
here, right? But I swear to God, if something's going on for me and I'm not in a good place, you are the fixer.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when I was in the Aldi's parking lot? And you were like, it's not a problem. I called your husband. I told him you're coming over. This is what we're doing. You go get me some coffee because I need some, by the way.
Since you're there.
Right? You're there. You need this, you do this, you do this. But what did you do?
Right.
You
I
took care of me the whole rest of the day.
Yeah.
I got this. I made you some food. I did this. You are very much the caretaker, all in person. You don't
Yes.
love when people know that about you.
No.
Because you're not giving that away to just anyone. You're very protective of it.
Correct.
But the want for stability and intimacy and connectedness and even your comments about what your when you were doing hypnotherapy and your image of what you wanted around you and
Yes.
that family
Yes.
is so important to you
Very
at your
much.
core.
Yes. Yes. That's very, yes. So that piece feels very right on target. Yep.
So I also have the 4 apart has a strong psychic side.
I mean,
If developed, can bring more success in the world. They all use it in their work, whether they are aware of it or not. They are usually most successful developing one thing and sticking with it. Many 4 aparts are destined to become important leaders in their chosen field, and the part of the path to the high success causes them to face issues maybe around money and power, but finding their own power while maintaining their foundation of love and support is an important step in this process.
it's really interesting because as I go through this career change, what have I said to you this whole time? I'm like,
It doesn't matter how much money I make. I
Right.
just want to be happy.
I do want to be happy, and my number one priority is being with my children and my husband, and I will not compromise that. I will not. Period.
No, even against me trying many
Right,
times
right.
to be like, oh, did you see the salary there? And you're like, I don't care. I don't
But
care
right-
about it.
right down
40
to-
hours a week? You want me
Right.
to work 40 hours a week?
Right down to when you're like, hey, you want to go to dinner on Friday? I'm like, yeah, as long as we're home by 8 because I got to go to soccer.
Yep. And the other day I went out with Nina and you're like, can I go? And I'm like, no, you may not, because what we're not going to hear the whole time is I got to be home in 16 minutes because I got to go to soccer. No one cares. We're going to be out all day.
Right. So, yeah.
Well, you are an ideal parent.
Oh, well,
Your
thank
children
you.
grow
Oh,
up
God.
strong
Well,
and
thank you.
healthy because of the loving care they have received from you.
Did you hear that? Did you
No,
hear
I
that?
didn't. I totally tuned that out. I totally tuned that out. Where my kid comes up to me today while she's at my house and says, Mom, could you sign me into Canva? I would really like to start to create some things. And I said, oh, I'm not really sure how to do this, buddy. I'll do it later. And he goes, you'll do it later? And Rebecca said, yeah, go find something else to do. I'm like,
Yeah.
did you have to take that tone?
Because he was still pushing
Because he
the
was still
envelope.
standing there.
He's
Heaven
got-
forbid he needs
here,
to take a minute.
Here. You don't, no.
Yep.
The-
Yep.
Mom said
But yes.
busy.
But yes,
Go find
very
something
loving,
else to do.
very supportive, very caring. Yeah.
You can't.
Raising them on love,
Okay.
everybody.
You can't.
There you go. So you are the love card, and it is also in that astrological sign. It is Cancer.
Oh,
So,
good.
that, that is you, Rebecca.
Okay.
And Erin
Bring it on. Here we go.
is
Okay.
the artist card.
Wow.
So you are
Kid,
the
or
three
Chris doesn't think you are.
of spades. Three
What
of
is it?
spades.
Three.
The three of spades.
Three.
The three of spades. So the three of spades have the opportunity for great success in their work if they are willing to work for it.
Mhm.
They have a heavier load than most, indicated by their position in the Saturn line. But if they work hard, they will receive the blessings. Let's see. This says the 3 of spades can represent indecision about work or health, and they should watch their health carefully. The more they worry about their health, it could get worse. So you have to watch your thoughts. Mental health. Their strong work and career drives often interfere with their attention to their bodies and emotion. Sorry, I'm just reading this. With such a strong creative urge, they can also spread themselves too thin and get stressed out of it. So you really have to take care of your health. I don't know. Does this resonate at all?
I'm looking at her because she's...
These people are artistically gifted and can produce some of the most profound and inspiring expressions in the medium of their choice. If they just get clear about what is most important to them in life, everything they need and want will come to them. They
How
are
many
well-suited.
times do you need to hear this message? How many times?
You know what my medium is? Watercolor.
You're right.
I'm going to do watercolors. Acrylic paint?
Nope.
Pottery?
It's not literal art supplies, you asshole. I cannot.
Oh my God. I like to color. Is that what it is?
She's so goddamn
Sticker
literal.
books?
I can't. Okay, keep going.
What is my
'cause this
medium?
is
Colored
great.
pencils.
Your medium is presentations. Okay?
Oh,
Stop.
there you go.
Chalk.
Well, this says you are well suited for having multiple occupations. Just be careful you don't do too much.
We're
and to
not
take
going
care
to
of
be the
yourself.
provost of the school or the president. We're going to research. Keep going. This is the
let's see.
15th sign of the same message she's gotten for the past 23 episodes. But let's just keep reinforcing it.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Only the
broke my
path of
pendulum.
highest integrity and the willingness to put forth an honest work effort will bring you the success you want.
Did you hear that?
So among
I heard it.
the
I've
3
heard
of
it loud and
spades
clear.
Are the most successful artists in the world. So the 3 of spades is also a highly creative and romantic person and needs a partner with whom they share these interests. There are hurdles in love based upon inner fears of abandonment or rejection that must be dealt with, but overall they have good marriage potential.
I got good potential.
You,
Freaking Van Gogh over here.
you need an outlet for your creativity.
Mm. Like this podcast.
They will often attract a person who is of critical nature, one with a pessimistic attitude.
It's you.
I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah, it's Rebecca. She's a real downer. She's a mess. I'm like, I have a great idea. You're like, this is stupid. We're not doing that. Yep.
So, love can be a very spiritual thing for you, and they often have lofty goals for marriage, but the same idealism tends to blind them in the negative qualities of those they attract and love, and they end up with those who don't really match up to their dreams. Oh, but all of that
folks,
can be changed.
23 episodes summed up into one statement. However many episodes we've done.
Colored pencils.
I mean,
Stickers.
Body art.
idiot. She's such an idiot. Do you have any questions?
No.
So,
Do you?
I don't have a lot of questions. I have a lot of affirmations.
You feel good about it?
What she just said to you?
What she said to you?
Yeah, I feel great.
Yeah, good.
She feel great about what she said to you?
Yeah.
Do you?
No.
I have to process that after this.
I'm picking one more card.
Oh,
Then we're done. I'm picking one more.
No, what we need to pick is this one. Wait, because this is it. This is for you. Oh, it's the walrus, fatty.
Whatever. Clown. Read it.
It's the temperance.
Take us home. Take us home, Rebecca.
And then you'll read yours?
Take us home.
Because I'm going to pee my pants.
I know that nothing can get in the way of what is meant for me. I am on the right path.
Temperance, the feeling of this card can be likened to the elusive flow state, where great strides are achieved with joy rather than sweat. Events unfold harmoniously, and inspiration pops up unexpectedly with a box full of expensive-looking cupcakes. The key is to remain balanced and tempered so you can channel all of this next-level energy and put it into practice. Temperance frowns on extremes, so indulge those moderation vibes and enjoy the hopefully more than moderate success that ensues.
I'm going to be a baker.
Oh, my God.
Charcoal pencils. Stephany, if people would like to get a hold of you or would like to touch base with you to learn more, how can they reach you?
So you can email me at stephanyannSpeaks@gmail.com. And I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I can share those links with you.
Yes, please do. Thank you for being with us today. This was a great episode. I hopefully helps a lot of people. Please join our Facebook group if you have not already. Please join us live on December 29th and join into this conversation and let us know your thoughts, your feelings, and why Rebecca is a 4 of hearts.
I loved that.
Me too. Isn't empathy amazing?
Well, we're amazing. I don't know about all this empathy stuff.
That's fine. I accept you wherever you are.
Oh, God.
I love you.
I love you too.
And if you love us, please like and subscribe to More Love, the Power of Empathy podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
See you next time.